listeners. Welcome to yet another episode of Courage Talks. Today, I have Swagat here as a guest. Swagat has a checkered background. He's worked for blue chip companies like Schlumberger, McKinsey, HUL, and Google. And before he got into entrepreneurship, I'll let Swagat complete rest of his journey himself. Welcome, Swagat.
Thanks a lot, Ethan. Thanks a lot for having me here. A pleasure. And congratulations to you for the book. I'm sure it must have been an emotional journey for you also when you were writing it. And now that we are talking about courage here, first of all, congratulations to you for having that courage to take it up and finish the book. I'd love to know a bit more about it when we meet informally. But yeah, so short introduction. So I currently run a company called Smytten as co-founder. Founded this company about 7-8 years back with one of my ex-Unilever colleague and a very good friend, Siddharth. So Siddharth and I both are graduates from Indian School of Business. We worked together in Unilever. And during the tea breaks, we always used to talk about entrepreneurship, ideas and stuff and all that. And finally, call it midlife crisis, call it the pressure of the time or whatever it is, one point in time, we just said, hey, enough is enough. Let's just take the plunge and do it. And I'll share the story how Smytten happened also. It's a serendipity.
Sure.
It was very impulsive. Sometimes they say that you have to be foolish enough. I think this is a classic case of it. So I was actually in Taj Lands in Mumbai where there's some Google event that was going on. And that was my birthday. And so I was going on to the other side of the 30s. And I was like, at this one point in time, oh my God, I'm already past 30. What am I doing? Am I living my dream? Is this what I want to do for the next 20 years? So there's a lot of this existential question. And I remember it was 2nd May. And I suddenly got a call from Sid to wish me my birthday. And I was like, oh my God, can't be a better time. Let's take the plunge. Let's start it. We've been just talking about it for so many years. And then he said, okay, do you have an idea? I said, yeah, I have this idea. I've been thinking about it. I've scribbled it on a piece of paper. In fact, a few days back, I had actually put it on the LinkedIn when I was one day just scribbling on one single piece of paper. I said, yeah, I have this big idea. So let's build on it. So the next day is his birthday, coincidentally. So May 3rd is his birthday. So I called him up to wish him. And he's like, Swagat, I thought about it. Let's do it. And we're like, okay, done, let's do it. So by May 15th, we both had gone and resigned in our respective organizations. And we said, okay, let's take the plunge. And that's how it happened.
Beautiful story, man. And yeah, it's spur of the moment, good buddy calling you. You didn't go back, check your finances to realize whether you have enough money to survive and all those things, right? And I think some of the best decisions in life are made spur of the moment.
Yeah.
If you start thinking about it, there will be 10 other reasons why you would not want to do it. Your family might discourage you, friends might discourage you, your boss might say, "Pagal hai kya?"
Yeah.
And the idea disappears.
Yeah.
Having said that, you displayed an example of courage right there. But what's courage for you? What is your personal story on courage?
See, again, I can go back and tell you that was a very courageous act and all that. But I am a fundamental believer that courage is a lot more circumstantial, lot more driven by your environment, and lot more driven by also the clarity of purpose you have as an individual. And depending on that, the courage also to the level a human being can push himself or herself, that completely changes. For me, honestly, if I just have to, because I'm an ex-consultant, I will synthesize and try to kind of put it in a word. For me, the courage is, I think, the ability to do the right thing and the ability to have the right attitude when the circumstances are not going in your way. And when I say ability to take the right decision and to do the right thing, that doesn't mean a typical kind of action. Like if you see a lot of people say, if you are courageous, you will go fight and you will be aggressive and you will push for your things, you will fight for your things and stuff and all. To any circumstance, a human being can have only 3 responses. You can either fight, you can either have a flight, or you can freeze. So basically, no response, no activity. You can just run away from the situation or you take the situation head on, right?
Right.
And what you do in each of the situation what courage means also varies on the context. Like for example, let's say you're swimming and you're seeing a shark coming your way, and all you have to do is freeze. Just stay there. Don't splash and don't like try to swim away and stuff and all that. Sharks are generally not human predators. I mean, 75% of the chance that they will come and they'll go away. Yeah. But it takes a lot of courage to not react and to not fly and stay still there. Yeah. Similarly, let's say if you saw a tiger, let's say 500 meters away, and the courage is not about going and fighting the tiger because you know that you're never going to win. So the courage is about having the presence of mind, running away and kind of climbing a tree. Similarly, fight. I mean, for example, like you see some ghouls kind of torturing a guy in the street where you have nothing to do. It takes a lot of courage to intervene and go and fight for that person, right? I mean, it's fighting for that cause. So I think courage is a little overrated, to be very honest, in terms of in a very typical way how we see the courage. But courage can have multiple facets and kind of completely depends on the situation.
I think beautifully described with the example, Swagat, and I think my personal belief is that a lot of people spend their entire life looking for courage, and the courage is lying within, right? And your ability to assess courage requires courage.
Absolutely.
And that's where the problem comes in, right? You don't think deep enough. You don't give yourself a chance, and you typically assume that you are not, in a position to be able to display that courage, and then you let. But if you do, life will never be the same again. Because once you discovered it, it stays with you. If you don't discover it, you don't know.
Sure.
It's an interesting element. So Swagat, we know a lot about what you are today, but I'm sure listeners would be interested in knowing what you were in the past. So why don't you just take us down memory lanes about your childhood, growing up days, any particular moments in your childhood that you are reminded of?
I had a very interesting childhood. So I am from Odisha, and my father was an administrator there. And so my father was a very upright and honest administrator. So of course, he never buckled under the pressure of politicians or the superiors, and always wanted to do the right thing. And hence he had about 38 transfers in his 35 years of career.
38?
Yes. And
Swagat, you should be writing a book on your dad, mind you.
and you'd be surprised. I completed my schooling in 10 schools. So I did my schooling in a place which is a decent city, capital of Odisha. And then my father got posted in such places which did not even have an English medium school. So in 72 or 3, I kind of shifted from an English medium to a vernacular, and then kind of studied in the vernacular medium, and then kind of moved on to college and from there to engineering. But it was interesting. So I completed my schooling in 10 schools. But I'm like, when I look at it in the hindsight, I'm very, very grateful that I got to make so many friends. Today I have a long list of school friends because I met so many people. Otherwise, if you spend the time in the same school, generally kind of get restricted to 4 or 5 people. And also it gave me the ability to kind of accept change very sportively. So, and that's something I would honestly give it to my father. And every time he would have a transfer order, he would come smiling and then he would just laugh about it. It's like, okay, time to pack the bags. And I have never seen him being sad about it that, okay, he's been transferred, and he took it so sportively all through his career. And I think my first lesson of courage, and I think the first interpretation of courage came from there, right? So I've never seen my father blaming the system or blaming the people. He always kept saying, the system is what it is. You can't always change the system because you may be like a small cog in the big wheel. While you should try your level best to change things and all that, but systematically you may not be able to. But the choice is with you in terms of what you want to do.
Right.
And you also have to understand that there will be consequences of those choices.
Yeah.
It's not going to be smooth. And I mean, and then the act of courage is not only doing what you want to do. The act of the courage is also having that understanding within you and having that peace within you that there will be consequences and I am okay with those consequences. and that's why he never kind of really bothered how many transfers. It just became one place to the other. He never bothered what others are doing, what his colleagues are doing. So it's just I think that was my first lesson of courage, I would say.
Right. A beautiful story, and I'm pretty impressed that your father, took it on his chin, as they say. And I think that's a great example of fight or flight. I mean, he didn't debate between the two, but applied one wherever it was applicable. And I love the fact that you took your multiple shiftings of schools as a positive. I've known so many people who cry, "Arey, mere koi dost nahi hai," because I kept getting shifted or transferred, right? And you took that as an advantage and say now you have a lot of friends because you moved around. You held on to the relationship rather than looking down on the smallness of those relationships because they were for a shorter period of time. And it's a perfect example where you convert a problem into an opportunity and actually feel happy about it rather than looking glum about it.
No,
And
I mean, I'll tell you, Hital, I think I learned the value of nurturing relationships, no matter what kind of a short-lived existence it had in a physical proximity. I love to nurture them because of this. Like you and I, we would have met like 2 times face-to-face, right? It's been
That's
more
right.
than a decade, and we have been in touch. We talk, we share and stuff and all that. But if you see, it was just 2 meetings in person. And over the last decade, we have nurtured this relationship. I think the constantly changing one place to the other, I realized that how valuable it is to kind of carry forward whatever momentary time you spend with or whatever relationship you build it.
Right. I think that's true. I think quality trumps quantity anytime, right? I mean, you don't have to spend hours together with someone to really feel that person is special, right? I mean, that special comes in as a very instinctive as well. And when you talk about relationship, obviously there are lots of instances of courage we experience at the work life as well, right? So beautiful story you narrated about your father from a personal life perspective. In professional life, would you be able to cite instances where you experienced instance of courage?
Yeah, I would say again, I mean, entrepreneurship, honestly, for last 7-8 years, it has been courage every single day. And the reason is, I'll tell you, there is the world is very complex these days. There are a lot of things, lot of stimulus, lot of inputs that goes in one's life, which kind of makes you go through those highs and lows. Right? And one of the things, I have at least tried to do is that no matter what is happening in your personal life, the moment you walk into that office, those 4 walls, it's like a temple for you. So you just have to shed everything outside that and go in, have fun, enjoy, because there are 200, 300 people who are feeding on your energy and who are looking towards you for their guidance and inspiration. So no matter whatever is going on in your life, you just have to kind of be there and show up every day with a smiling face and just do your work. So and of course, I can take a lot of professional examples throughout my career where I've taken decisions which are not very standard, not something you would do, but when I kind of look back and think of, I used to think that okay, I actually did a great thing, it was a big triumph and all that. But when I have lived this life for last 7-8 years, I believe that the courage is not about those momentary wins or how you reacted to a particular situation or what you did. Courage is about doing that consistently year on year, day in day, hour in hour, minute in minute. So I would not, that's why, go and kind of blow a trumpet around something I did on some incident. I would say courage is an everyday thing.
Wow, that's beautifully said. Courage is also displayed in situations of vulnerability. When the situation gets the better of you, you are not able to hold back emotions. You might even shed tears. Any instance which you recollect, and I'm sure you would have had a lot of tough times. Every entrepreneur has by default. We would like to cite such instances where literally rone ki halat aa gayi thi.
See, honestly, I express my vulnerability a lot. So, I would say that's my leadership style. If there is a problem, I go and kind of be very open about it, saying, see, this is what it is. It's not the best situation to be in. But unfortunately, here we are. public crying, I don't think I have had professionally public crying yet.
Okay.
But because once I strongly believe that one needs to, while I mean it's okay to express your emotions through crying and it kind of makes you feel lighter and all that. I'm
Yeah.
an ever optimist.
Wow.
I believe that no matter what the situation is, there is always hope. And I think that hope lets me get over the crying phase. But I personally I've tried, very very emotional person that way. I've tried like n number of times. I mean, the first time I held my daughter to, first time I got her to the office, and because so that time my wife also works and she is a corporate professional. So of
Yeah.
course it's very hectic and we don't have time. And then so what I had done is I had actually created a small crèche in my office when we were in Gurgaon. So
Okay.
she would go to the daycare, and the daycare would get shut, and then she would come to the office and then kind of stay in that corner for about 1 or 2 hours till 8:30, till
Right.
either I'm done or my wife comes and kind of picks her up. And there was like a time when actually she took her first step in the office.
Yeah.
And that was a moment like I was literally crying. I mean, I'm still crying now, but I can never forget that
Yeah.
day. So I think I have a lot of personal moments where I have cried. But when it comes to professional things, I believe that there is nothing in this world which you can control if you maintain your calm and composure.
Right. No, definitely very true. Very well said. I think personal moments with your family for an entrepreneur, or maybe the lack of personal moments, is what highlights an entrepreneur's journey. And if you're able to bring out these special moments at work, I'm sure they're going to stay with you for a long time. Having said that, taking risk is an integral part for entrepreneurs, right? I mean, the very fact that you became an entrepreneur is a big risk you took. But obviously, risk involves courage as well. So, any particular decision in your entrepreneur career which you thought were a big risk, and that you might have run through on that decision back and forth multiple times? You and your co-founder would have fought about it, maybe disagreed on it as well. Any particular instance when you want to talk about, like, literally you were like fighting tooth and nails on it?
Yeah. Entrepreneurship is a big risk, right? There is a 99% chance of you failing. And despite that, you kind of take that call, and I think you live those moments day in, day out. And as I was telling you, courage is very overrated in terms of in a circumstance where you are in, and what purpose you are carrying, your definition of courage can kind of completely vary. And while today, 7-8 years later, I can say that, okay, I actually took a very courageous step in leaving a roaring corporate life, a fixed salary, and the kind of almost a globe-trotting role at Google to kind of start on my own. I'll tell you where my courage was almost about to break or had broken, and I would kind of want to give all the credit to my partner, my wife. So I mean, I'll tell you the incident. So I quit. I told you, right? I quit on the May 15th, but I had like a couple of leaves, and then I had my notice period and all that. And then I talked to my boss. I said, okay, let me go and anyway start working in the sidelines. I'm not gonna come to office. I'm gonna use the leaves and all that, and I'll go and give my badge on the day officially kind of it ends. So during that time, I started working, and I was very sure and very happy with the decision and all that. But we were also kind of trying to have a kid around that time, and
so you were trying to have two babies at the same time.
yeah. And what happened was I was of course kind of worried in my mind that, okay, what happens if I'm taking the plunge and we become parents? How are we gonna manage and stuff and all that? So all that thing was kind of running in the mind, but somewhere in my mind it was a thing of distant future, right? You don't think of it unless it kind of hits you. You're like, okay, we're thinking about it, we're gonna have it some time, and hopefully by the time things would have settled here, it will not be this much of a flux and stuff and all that. But I continued with my journey, and so 2 months later, I put my paper, I gave my badge, and I sent a picture to my wife, and I said, okay, I'm gonna come in the evening and kind of see you, because I had some meetings after that. So when I come in the evening, I have a lot of small baby t-shirts and balloons all around the house, and she broke the news to me,
Oh, wow.
and I was like, "How long did you know about this?" She's like, 7-8 weeks, and I'm like, "Why didn't you tell me this?" And she's like, "If I would have told you this, you wouldn't have taken this decision. You wouldn't have
Oh,
followed your
man,
dream."
that's really good.
So my courage would have broken there, and I
Of course.
probably would have gone back
Yeah.
and not done what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
I think it's also having people around you who push you,
Yeah.
who believe in you, and who support you with what makes you courageous as well.
Right. No, I mean, I'm really touched. I mean, I'm feeling emotional here. I mean, to hold back something like
I
this for
am
7
emotional.
weeks.
Yeah.
And imagine the amount of physical changes your wife would have been going through, which she kind of completely clouded you from.
Yeah.
The pain herself rather than letting you be part of it. But hats
Yeah.
off, man. This story is going to remain with me for a very long time.
So my courage is not my courage always, and many of us, when we think that okay something has happened to you, it's very me and I did it and all that. But as I said, people and environment circumstances, they push you to be courageous.
No, I always believe, and that's probably for every facet of us, right? Everything that we are is a combination of all the people around us, right? I mean, we pick elements consciously, subconsciously, unconsciously as well, and it's aspects like these, it's instances like this which rub off on us, and they carry on and come out in a completely different situation or a different scenario. I mean, 7 years from now, if you want to hold back a surprise from your daughter, you'll probably take that approach because the kind of wow it can create for her as well, and that carries on, right? Your daughter will do that to a friend of hers, and so forth. The other element of courage comes out, and which is very unfortunate, is kindness, compassion, displaying kindness or observing kindness also. I mean, you might have observed as well. So any particular instance which strikes you, which was a big display of kindness, compassion by you, someone around you, which you would like to cite?
So, again, I mean, I'll tell you because my father was an administrative officer. So, I grew up with a lot of people also who work for you. And many stories, right? I mean, I used to have a person who was showing up almost like every single day on time, do his job very quietly, and kind of go away. And some point in time, I mean, we got to know that his wife was going through a terminal disease. And this guy was kind of doing everything at home, and he was coming in. And the thing is, I mean, sometimes you just try to understand what is their motivation, and why would they choose not to talk about it, and why would they come and brave that every single day and not ever complain about it. And then, I mean, I asked him once that why didn't you ever tell this about to any of us? I mean, you could have done something. And he was like, "No, this is my job, and I really care and value for my what I'm kind of doing, and I don't want my burdens and my this thing to come to someone else, and that is how I always have been." And then many such instances I can kind of bring up because when you grow up with so many people, and then especially I was telling you that you get to know people in different places, that and everyone is going through some struggle. If you look at the optimism and positivity and the empathy, kindness, I mean, see, they will behave like if I fall sick, they will behave like their own son has fallen sick. Kind of concern, care, and they would show, and they would show the same to their own son. And I was like, okay, I mean, I'm someone that okay, it is your boss's son, and then he's gonna move on in 6 months, and why so much of attachment? And I honestly today I don't have an answer. It is just the human connections and just the kindness and just the connections, the emotion that everyone brings on the table. And I've been very fortunate enough, I would say, I'm from a part of the country, Odisha, where it is not so developed yet economically and all that. But one thing we really have is this human connections. You feel like whenever I go, I feel like I have come home. There is absolutely no pretense. There is real concern for one another. And I think with economic progress, we are somewhere losing that.
I agree with you, and I think a very touching story. And I think we come across multiple such instances, and these are ordinary people, right? I mean, you don't need to be educated, you don't need to be, an IIT IM grad to display compassion like this, right?
Yeah.
And that's what marvels you, that we just discussed about hiring people, right? These are aspects which don't come up in a resume ever, right? These will not come up in grilling of an interview as well. But when you start working with these people, then you suddenly, that eureka moment comes in, when there was the instance where you least expected someone to turn around is the one who jumped up and said, "Boss, I will do it."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Hey, you were there all along for the last 10 years. I didn't realize you had this potential in you," right? So it's been a beautiful.
Trust me, again, I think sometimes we do something and we feel that we have done an act of kindness, and sometimes we feel very happy about ourselves. But at least if you ask me personally, I don't think I'll do anything in this life that will make me feel that no, I am actually kinder than those people who I grew up with.
Of course.
Never do. But no matter whatever I do. Or I can be a billionaire and I can donate and I can do a lot of philanthropic activity, but that touch, that personal kindness, I have been fortunate enough and privy to. I don't think I can give back to this world in this life.
Yeah. And I always believed that the root is always stronger than the branch. Right? So what inspired you will always supersede what you do ever in your life, because if that had not been there, you will never know that you could have displayed that level of courage or compassion, or for that matter, right? So I personally would always put that in high regard as well, right? Quick few rapid fire questions. One book which comes to your mind when you talk about courage.
I think I had read this book, Man's Search for Meaning, by Viktor Frankl. That book, I can read it 100 times. It touches me every time I read it. I don't think there could be a better act of courage that anyone could see. What those people were going through is just, it will remain as a picture, as a movie, as a history. And I don't know if you've seen that movie, Life is Beautiful. Which is again, I have seen that movie 100 times. And these are the two things I'm like, what worse can happen to a human being than this? Being stripped of everything, but still latching onto that hope and fighting it every day. And I don't think, any of us can even imagine what it would be.
Of course, no doubt about that. Between stimulus and response, there is a space which is your ability to choose your reaction.
Absolutely.
Stays with me as well. Fantastic choice. One employee you want to cite out, instance of courage, or someone who's synonymous with courage in your company?
See, it would be unfair for me to call out a name. And as I said, and I keep exactly repeating these words, and I will repeat it here. I think anyone who has chosen to join Smytten in our journey is a very brave soul already. It takes a lot to kind of join a startup, a growing company, having the uncertainty, putting the work hours, everyone kind of puts in. So I would say, everyone is courageous enough to take that call in their life and to join us. And I keep saying this very openly, like at your age, like a lot of people are like in their 20s and early, late 20s and stuff and all that. I don't think I could have taken that plunge, what these guys have taken. And I'm being very open that, so when I was having my corporate life, that time, 2014, 15, 12 to 15, startups were just coming up. And I had umpteen number of startup offers. You are at Google, of course. You're meeting a lot of people, a lot of founders. You know the digital. You are in the forefront of the internet revolution. So there were plenty of jobs that were flowing my way, which some of them are current big unicorns also. But I don't think I could take the courage at that point in time to just join that uncertainty. And somewhere in my mind was, okay, if I'm signing up for uncertainty, I will sign up for something which I really believe in. So, but a lot of people in the company today at their 20s, the kind of steps they have taken, the kind of articulation they do, without having any fear of hierarchy or any fear of consequences, I'm just amazed. I think it's called human evolution. Every generation is much smarter, much stronger than the previous one.
Of course. No, that's true. And sometimes we might spend hours together defining content for our company website. We might not realize some of the newest joinees might have the brightest words to share, which could describe what life at Smytten would be. Right? That's wonderful. So, last one. What's the question you have for me?
So again, we talked about a thing about courage, purpose, and all. So I would say, in a man's search for meaning or purpose, you have taken a very different path. I mean, you used to be a corporate professional yourself, and I think it's been quite a few years now.
Yeah, 8 years now.
And for me, I would say I still am having an extension of that corporate life while I'm building on my own. But it's more or less a very familiar territory. It's building a business and all that. But you have experimented and explored a lot of different things. I mean, what has been your biggest discovery in terms of finding purpose?
So, good question. So, at some point of time during my corporate career and immediately after that, I realized the futility of work life. Right? It kind of narrows your boundary as far as the purpose of life is concerned. Going back to what Victor said, right? It narrows your focus and energy and attention is purely towards your place of work and the content which you come across. The moment that goes, right, your 9 to 6 solid 9 hours of your day are open for all kinds of possibilities. So the avenue for life opens up drastically. Obviously, the first question is, from a monetary angle perspective, am I or was I in a position to be able to sustain myself? Touchwood, yes, I was. I think that kind of helped me. But was I making compromises? Yes, of course, I have had to make compromises. But end of the day, I realized the fact that we have one life and there is limited amount of time. And a lot of us leave aside a lot of stuff for retirement. That, okay, once I retire, once I hang up my boots, I'm going to sit and, travel the world and play sports and, all that. But we don't realize that we would have been much older by then. And the quantum of enjoyment or the quantum of joy which we can get from those activities will not be the same regardless of however fit or however healthy you are or however happy you are, right? The joy is in about being able to, purpose of life is to find life's purpose. So I am spending all my time on life purpose. If you ask me how I find purpose of my life, no, I have not. But I'm sole dedication is towards that, right? I mean, interacting with you, doing a podcast, writing a book, traveling the world. I'm just constantly on that journey, and I think that kind of helps as well, right? And end of the day, I know that I don't want to live life with regret. As they say, right, on the deathbed, you regret the things which you did not do. You don't regret the things you did, right? Yeah. And I don't want to leave out any stuff which I would sit and regret.
I'm a big Bezos fan. I mean, his whole regret minimization framework. I think that was one of the same things. So I said, the worst what's going to happen, at least I will not have to regret.
That's true.
So, No, very well said. Again, thank you for having me here. I think you have done a lot more varied things than I have done. And you've taken a lot of courageous steps early in the life and probably which I'm still postponing and waiting. But at least, I feel that I have found the purpose of my life in building a legacy with Smytten, and that's what kind of keeps driving me, and of course, the family. So it's all our. I think we will kind of find the journey, and then think about destination. I think it's all about finding the journey now.
One thing I'm very sure about is I will never be an entrepreneur. So hats off to you. I mean, you not only identified your purpose, but you mentioned that somewhere. I forgot to mention that you believe that this is passionate enough to keep you going, right? And sometimes, and I come across a lot of young entrepreneurs who are totally driven by entrepreneurship purely from the monetary angle perspective, or they feel that the business model which they are holding on to is going to get them a lot of money, right? They lack out on the association of the work that they're going to do with their ability or their DNA. And I think that mismatch sometime comes out as well. So, it's been beautiful having this discussion with you. And I feel privileged that I got to know so much about you through this podcast. And
thank you,
thanks for your time, and continue doing the good work. And hats off to you, man.
Thank you. You have a great day.
Thank you. You too.